Chapter 1471 He caused trouble while driving. Gu Jingze and Lu Baikan looked at each other. Lu Baikan maintained his arrogant manner but said while holding the steering wheel, "Sure. Chengxi, get down first." Fu Chengxi paused. She glanced at Gu Jingze who remained silent and had no choice but to alight from the car. Gu Jingze pursed her lips, pulled the car door open, and got in. The moment she got in, Lu Baikan immediately stepped on the gas pedal. The car sped out of campus. Oh, no, Gu Jingze was so frightened that she immediately grabbed the handle on top. Lu Baikan's lips turned up in a smile as if he was very glad to see her like this. Gu Jingze thought hatefully that she should have known he did not harbor good intentions. From the start, he simply wanted to watch her make a fool out of herself. She held onto the car door tightly and let him speed ahead just like that. He sped past a few streets. To begin with, she probably would not be late if he drove at his usual speed. He drove like he had a death wish, his speed never going below 100. He was the only person who would dare do this on the road. Some traffic police officers even wanted to stop them at first. But when they saw the Ferrari, along with the many sixes on the number plate, they pretended not to see it. So, their journey there was quite smooth. But suddenly, they could not even budge when they traveled in front. It appeared that an accident had occurred ahead, blocking the road such that the cars could not move. Lu Baikan cursed internally. He stopped the car there and looked left and right, in front and behind. They were barricaded. Damn it, he then started cursing. Gu Jingze looked at him. Is there any use in cursing now? Looking down on me, even at a time like this. Hee, why don't you think about who I'm stuck here? Jingye rolled her eyes. At this time, she started behaving haughtily. I didn't beg you to come. Hey, you ingrate, why didn't you say so just now? You're saying this now that I'm halfway there. If you dared to say this earlier, I wouldn't have let you get in the car. Gu Jingye looked up arrogantly. But as she looked at the long line of cars, she was a little frustrated. What should she do now? Gu Jingye glanced at her handphone helplessly. Oh no, it's almost time. Lu Baikan looked around and then looked at the road ahead. How far is it? Not far, 2 more streets. Frowning, Lu Baikan pulled the car door open and alighted. Hey, what are you doing? Come on, why should we stay in the car? With this time, we can reach there if we run. Gu Jingye hastily said, what should we do about your car? Leave it here and don't bother with it first. That won't do. Why are you being so long-winded? Quick, let's go. He pulled Gu Jingye's arm. Gu Jingye paused and glanced at the cars behind. He then dragged her and ran ahead. They ran wildly all the way. In no time, they finally arrived at the event venue. Gu Jingye gasped for breath, while Lu Baikan said, there's enough time, right? Go in. HN, there's enough time, go back, quick. With the documents in hand, Gu Jingye frantically rushed in. But Lu Baikan also ran in after her. Because of the crazy move Lu Baikan pulled, at least Gu Jingye arrived at the venue on time. Everything went smoothly. Gu Jingye heaved a sigh of relief as well after the event had ended. However, the moment she came down, someone said to her, Jingye, a handsome guy is waiting for you in front. Is he your boyfriend? Gu Jingye blanked out. She looked at their smitten expressions and felt that something was wrong. When she turned to look, it was Lu Baikan. She hastily walked over. She looked at the man who was leaning against the wall sloppily and pretending to be handsome with his hands in his pockets. Hey, you Lu Baikan. Why are you still here? Lu Baikan said, I was waiting for you. You're waiting for me. What about the car? You don't want the car anymore. Lu Baikan said, I forgot about it. What the hell, he could even forget this. Aren't you going to check on the car? Gu Jingye was shouting frantically. But she did not expect that their worry was no longer needed because later on, the news reported on this. $10 million Ferrari abandoned in the middle of the road. The owner of the car vanished. The traffic police had no choice but to tow the car away. There were countless comments below. Most of them were saying, wealthy people do whatever they want. He doesn't even want his Ferrari. Lu Baikan muttered to himself, I'm done for. Gu Jingye asked, what happened? Lu Baikan said, my family prohibited me from driving. This time, I threatened the secretary to let me drive the car. Now that the report is out, my father probably saw it. Gu Jingye clutched her hair. This Lu Baikan, he was seriously too flashy. Why did he have to drive a Ferrari for no reason? All right, quickly get the car from the traffic police. There was no need to waste energy. Since the online reports had already stated which traffic police squadron towed the car away, they headed straight to that squadron. The moment they went in, they immediately said, "We're here to take our car back." The officer asked, "What car? Was it parked illegally?" Gu Jingyan looked at Lu Baikan. "You can say that. Parking in the middle of the road was illegal parking." "What's the license plate number?" The officer frowned while completing the registration process. 666,666. The officer looked up. Usually, he would think that it was a joke. But today, they towed away a car with the license plate number, 666,666. What car are you guys looking for?" "A Ferrari, a red one," Gu Jingyan said. They brought the two of them to the back. Behind, the leader of the squadron said, "Young Master Lu. I didn't recognize you, but this car is being detained right now. Furthermore," he smiled and said, "we've already contacted the car owner." Lu Baikan looked up and said, "You guys called my father?" "Yes." Old Master Lu said that he would be here in a bit. Lu Baikan's face turned deathly pale, and he looked as if he was about to die. Not long after, Lu Qinyu rushed over. Lu Baikan immediately wanted to escape. He said to Gu Jingyan, "When my father comes, tell him I've already left." Gu Jingyan hastily said, "Hey, that's enough. It's too late for you to run now. My father said that he'll break my legs if I drive again." But, the moment she spoke, she saw Lu Qinyu arrive. "Lu Baikan, you unfilial child. You unworthy son, what trouble did you cause again? Everyone knows about it and they're talking about it everywhere." The people in the police station watched as Lu Qinyu grabbed Lu Baikan by the collar and hit him in a fury. They dared not stop him either. Around him, they could only coax him, Old Master Lu, it's all right. It's a minor matter. Look, nothing happened." Gu Jingyan also said hastily, Uncle, it's all because of me." "Don't." The beating completely humiliated Lu Baikan, and he immediately flew into a rage. "Enough. You hit me all the time. Didn't I learn all this from you guys? You guys taught me all this and now you're hitting me. Hey, you unfilial child. How dare you say that?" Lu Qinyu could not get any angrier. He immediately said, Fine. If I'm going to educate you properly, I should cut you off so you can't wander about outside all the time." "Cut me off then." Lu Baikan looked up, an expression of self-righteousness and disdain on his face. Chapter 1472. Play a more open game. "You said it. All right, I won't take away the car today. You will punish whoever did this," Lu Qinyu said angrily, "punish them the way they should be punished. Whoever needs to get caught must get caught. You don't have to think about me." After he had finished, he walked out in fury, but then he saw Gu Jingyan. He said, "Hey, tell me. I told you long ago to stay away from him. I can't bring myself to face your mother anymore. Do you see it? This failure of a son I have is always a burden to you." Gu Jingyan carefully tightened her lips and thought speechlessly. It was also because of her this time. Seeing that Lu Qinyu was so gentle towards Gu Jingyan, the traffic police officers all wondered who she was. She was so great that even Lu Qinyu was so polite to her. After Lu Qinyu left, the police officers discussed among themselves. Although Lu Qinyu permitted them to punish however they deemed fit, they couldn't give him face, could they? Thus, they decided to only send the two back with a fine. They couldn't possibly take them in for real. On the way, everyone treated Gu Jingyan and Lu Baikan extremely politely. They did not expect to meet the young master of the Lu family as they towed the car, not to mention the fourth young mistress of the Gu family. When they heard that Gu Jingyan was the fourth young mistress of the Gu family, they were all shocked. But it made sense, too. If not for these young masters and mistresses, who else would dare to mess around like this? As the two were sent home, Gu Jingyan also knew that Lu Baikan only got into trouble because of her. She sighed and looked at him. "Your dad, will he cut off your finances?" "Humph. He can cut off if he wants to. Who cares?" Gu Jingyan said, "Don't be like this." Lu Baikan said, "Don't I still have you guys? You wouldn't let me starve to death, would you?" Alright, that was true too. Gu Jingyan thought that if his family stopped giving him money, she would help him out. After all, he helped her this time. Although she later thought that if they were late, so be it. He didn't have to be so anxious. When they arrived at school, Boss Shu and the rest were all waiting. "You guys are something. You can create news just by going for a drive." "You guys heard already?" Gu Jingyan asked. Boss Shu said, "It's such a huge piece of news, who wouldn't know?" "You didn't read what they wrote?" 1 million yuan Ferrari was thrown at the roadside. Oh my, what a headline. Fu Chengxi looked from the side and also said helplessly, will you guys be okay? Lu Baikan said, we're fine. My pocket money will just be cut off. What? Fu Chengxi was extremely shocked. The group returned to B City. Gu Jingyan was busy in S City for a few days and very quickly returned home too. In B City, the Lu family indeed cut off Lu Baikan's pocket money. Lu Baikan was used to spending generously, so he had little savings. Now that he suddenly had nothing to spend, he was at a loss and was especially uncomfortable. Fu Chengxi's heart ached for him. She said, why don't you go back and apologize? Your dad's heart might soften that he'll give you money. No, what should I apologize for? Lu Baikan immediately grunted. He turned and looked at Gu Jingyan. I'm in this state now, all because of you. I'm depending on you next month, Gu Jingyan. Gu Jingyan said speechlessly, I have no money. Lu Baikan smacked the table. Hey, you've already spent so much money on the game and you're telling me you have no money. I don't believe it. I got it from my second brother, Gu Jingyan said. Get more from him, then. If someone else were to say it, this would be extremely classic. But these few people knew very well that this bit of money meant absolutely nothing to their families. My second brother already secretly gave me over 1 million yuan this month, and I've spent it all. I'll feel bad to ask for more. I don't care, get more money. In any case, I'm depending on you to feed me. Gu Jingyan looked at this rogue and was exasperated. But Fu Chengxi could say nothing. After all, she could not fork out a single cent. Neither could she help in any way. At this time, the school organized a school trip. The student council elections had just ended. Gu Jingyan won the chairperson position by a landslide victory. After that, the school organized its school trip, at the same time letting Gu Jingyan take over the reins for it. Gu Jingyan chose a place and, at the same time, secretly asked where Lu Baikan's gang was going. Lu Baikan looked and was nonchalant. He picked a place not too far away from B City. Fu Chengxi watched from the side and said enviously, your school is so good. You even have school trips. That lousy school of theirs had no decent activities, not to mention a large-scale school trip as such. Gu Jingyan looked at Fu Chengxi and said, why don't you come along? I just need to fill in a form. Fu Chengxi asked in surprise, really? Of course, but you must pay for your expenses. Ask Lu Baikan to cover yours. Lu Baikan said, Master, my expenses depend on you now. Come along with us. Gu Jingyan naturally agreed. Fu Chengxi felt very embarrassed. Gu Jingyan and the group didn't think much about spending money on one another. After all, money was not that important in their eyes. But it was different from Fu Chengxi. Spending Lu Baikan's money was okay to Fu Chengxi, but she did feel uncomfortable spending Gu Jingyan's money. However, she didn't want to miss out on their trip either. The day of the trip arrived. However, Fu Chengxi's stomach was not helping. On board with the top students at Q University, it was clear that she didn't fit in to begin with. Not long after, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. Fu Chengxi said, no, I have to get down. There's something wrong with my stomach. It hurts. Lu Baikan immediately said, I'll send you to the hospital. Fu Chengxi knew that she had eaten something bad and needed to go to the restroom. How would she be willing to let him follow her? It would be too embarrassing. She already felt that she was less refined as compared to Gu Jingyan. Now, she had to let him see such an embarrassing side to her. How could she? No need. You guys go ahead. I'll catch up later. She persisted. Gu Jingyan thought that she was being emotionally troubled. She held Lu Baikan back and said, it's all right. I'll get the chauffeur to send her back. Don't worry. Lu Baikan also understood and could only nod his head. After Fu Chengxi left, the students continued forward and soon arrived at their lodging. 2 students would share each room. Gu Jingyan was originally going to share a room with Fu Chengxi, but now that Fu Chengxi had gone away, she was alone by herself. Everyone was thrilled to be out. After settling down, they went out to eat. Because they were already in university, nobody bothered if they drank alcohol, so everyone drank to celebrate. Gu Jingyan, in celebration of your becoming student council president, let's play a game. A student suggested. Gu Jingyan asked graciously, what do you want to play? Tell me. Well, let's do a room roulette. Whoever gets assigned to a room will have to go there. If a guy and girl end up in the same room, they can't change either. Haha, what do you guys think? What high stakes? Of course, Gu Jingyan did not agree. No way, what if something happens? Please, what can happen? We're all adults. If something were to happen, it'd still happen without any games. Chapter 1473. We're good friends, what are you thinking of? There are many guys in the first place. Would you be so unlucky that you'd end up with one? Impossible. Come on, try your luck. Everyone already agreed to the rules. Nobody is to back out, no matter what happens. Of course, if it happens then take responsibility. Ha ha ha, everyone who's here is mostly single, right? Nobody has a girlfriend, right? Only Lu Baiken has a girlfriend. I'm as single as can be. Whoever was present and balloted to be with Lu Baiken would grin from ear to ear. Soon, everyone got enthusiastic. Gu Jingyan did not want to take part, but the leader had gone ahead. If Gu Jingyan doesn't organize, then I will. Come and take part in the lottery. The leader teased, and Gu Jingyan felt even more speechless. From behind, Lu Baiken walked over and looked at the leader. What are you doing? A game. What game? The leader explained the matter. Lu Baiken frowned. The leader went on, you haven't seen it. When everyone heard about the lottery, these shameless people looked forward to drawing a chance to be with Gu Jingyan. Gosh, I'll see if they dare to do anything. Gu Jingyan would surely break their legs. Lu Baiken tensed up. Drawing a lot for a chance to be with Gu Jingyan. He could believe it if it were others, but facing Gu Jingyan. And letting her stay with a man. His face darkened as he thought about it. No way, he pulled the sleeve of the leader. Come, do me a favor. The leader did not have a good feeling and looked at him. What are you doing? Lu Baiken raised his eyebrows. The moment the leader heard what he had said, he immediately looked at Lu Baiken with warmth. I couldn't tell, Lu Baiken. Lu Baiken slapped him and said, what are you thinking? Gu Jingyan is our good friend. How can I watch my good friend stay with another guy in the same room? That's impossible. I think it's safer if I go over there and watch it personally. The leader thought he made sense. They were familiar with each other. If anything were to happen, it would have already happened. He said, sure, I'll help you. Soon, the draw started. Everyone was looking forward to the draw. Unsurprisingly, since there were many science and technology students, most of those who came were from the science and technology department. Hence, there were too many guys. One by one, the guys got paired with one another. They looked at each other in agony. What's the point of drawing lots? Later, a girl was finally drawn to be with a guy. Everyone started cheering. Just then, Gu Jingyan drew a lot. She took it out and saw, room 601. Everyone looked over with anticipation, curious about the lucky person who had been drawn to be with Gu Jingyan. The leader glanced at Lu Baiken and said, who else picked room 601? Everyone looked at one another with curiosity. Then Lu Baiken was seen walking out, holding on to the number. Everyone saw it, 601. At that moment, everyone started sighing. That can't be. Both of you are together again. How can it be such a coincidence? Even in this circumstance, you guys can be together. Hurry up and be together. Gu Jingyan also looked up and saw Lu Baiken, who was opposite her. Lu Baiken had a look of rebellion while looking at the others. Go, why are you all here? If it's not with me then, with whom? You, shoo, stand aside. The guys looked at Lu Baiken with jealousy in their eyes. The girls looked at Gu Jingyan with jealousy in their eyes. However, everyone thought about it and felt that they were already compatible. Now that they would stay together, that was just fate. Gu Jingyan even felt exasperated. Why did it have to be him, of all people? She walked to Lu Baiken's side. No way, with you. Lu Baiken nudged her arm. Why, are you afraid? What a joke. If it was someone else, she might have been worried. If it was him, what was there to be scared of? Afraid that he would do something to her. Leaving other things aside, she was not his type. The two of them were always fighting as well. Soon, everything was settled. Everyone went back to their rooms to pack. Lu Baiken helped Gu Jingyan to carry her things. Gu Jingyan said, don't let Chengxi know about this. Lu Baiken asked, why? Gu Jingyan replied, what do you think? Which girl wouldn't mind? No, we're good friends. What's there to mind? Gu Jingyan rolled her eyes at him. You don't understand women. In any case, don't mention this. Ignorance is bliss. If she knows about this, she'll start imagining things. It's only a game, I don't want any trouble. Lu Baiken pouted. He entered and saw that the room was too shabby. However, the school had limited funds and yet so many students. Having gotten into this room was already not too bad. After Gu Jingyan entered the room, she pushed Lu Baikan out. I'm changing. Wait for me. Sheesh, it's just changing. Who wants to have a look? So flat. It doesn't take much to know. For someone who weighs less than 100 pounds, it's either she's flat-chested or short. You must be a flat one. A cup, right? Who wants to see? Lu Baikan kept mumbling on. The door opened. Gu Jingyan had changed into a nightgown. She did not want to wear a dress, but who would have thought that there would be such an evil game? She thought she would share a room with a girl, so she had only brought her nightgown. Oh well. Then again, thinking about how it was Lu Baikan and how he should not be bothered about looking at her, she wore it. However, Lu Baikan was staring at her. He seldom saw her wear something like this. She had delicate skin and an outstanding figure. Wearing the little nightdress did not make him have any corrupt thoughts, but there was an indescribable feeling. Lu Baikan felt something was not right with his body. He started feeling warm. It would be better to put on the hood over his head, and he went in quickly. Gosh, just a change of clothes. Can't you do it in the restroom? You have to insist I get out. Gu Jingyan could not be bothered with him and went under her blanket. She had thought that the two of them should not have any problem being together. However, when she laid on the bed, she felt as though there was a stranger with her. She could not get to sleep. Especially when Lu Baikan had been tossing in his bed non-stop. Fu Chengxi called in between and said that she was at the hospital. She also asked what Lu Baikan was doing. Lu Baikan looked at where Gu Jingyan was. He thought he would be calm, but at that moment, he felt a little guilty. He said he was getting ready to sleep and did not mention being in a room with Gu Jingyan. Sleeping. There were two separate beds, though. After ending the call, Gu Jingyan could not sleep even more. Lu Baikan felt it too. He jumped up. Damn, I can't sleep. Let's do something. Gu Jingyan said, do what? The lights are all off. Just sleep. No way. Get some alcohol to drink. Order some takeaways and let's have some barbecue. Chapter 1474 What they should do and should not do, they have already done. It's already so late, but what barbecue do you want to have? Have some drinks and celebrate our first time sharing a room. Get lost. We are staying in a room, aren't we? The two of them were joking around with each other. However, Lu Baikan was very clear. He was thinking of getting a good sleep after some alcohol. But how was he going to sleep in his current state? He did not know why, but he would unknowingly look at Gu Jingyan, even though she was just beside him. In any case, he had no intentions of sleeping since he was bubbling in excitement. Lying there, he was feeling warm all over his body. So, how could he get to sleep? Gu Jingyan could not change his mind, and so she ordered some takeaway. Not long later, the takeaway arrived. As he drank and ate, Lu Baikan finally relaxed. Gu Jingyan was with him, but seated alone at one side. She hugged her knees as she sat there and ate. He realized that no matter what she was eating and in even the most unruly manner, she still looked graceful. Perhaps this was called being born with the noble aura. People who did not know this would not understand. For example, if one compared her with Fu Chengxi, they were completely different in this aspect. No matter how careful, quiet, or peaceful Fu Chengxi was, she would never have that kind of aura. However, no matter how loud and unruly Gu Jingyan was, there was still a noble aura around her. As he thought about it, he looked up and drank his beer. He said to Gu Jingyan, eat. You're so skinny, it's as if you're being tortured. Gu Jingyan said, of course not. I'm that skinny. Everyone in my family is this skinny. This is in my genes all right. Tisk. But it was hard to deny that from the Gu family's perfect physical appearance, you could see how important genes are. Lu Baikan drank in a daze. As he drank, he mumbled, tell me, why are you wearing this nightdress when you're out? Gu Jingyan looked at her nightdress. What about this nightdress? It's very normal. It's so short, how can it be normal? Gu Jingyan looked down. It was indeed showing her thighs. But then, she had never thought that she would end up rooming with him. Hey, if not, I only have one pair of pajamas. Do I have to wrap my entire body up? But you can't be so revealing. Can't you turn a blind eye to it? Turn around. You're not allowed to see, Gu Jingyan said and stretched out to push his face. Lu Baikan frowned. Hey, your bad habit of getting physical. Can you change? No, it's your fault for having a foul mouth. Lu Baikan avoided her attack and said immediately, see if you dare get physical with the Lord. The Lord will break your little claws. Then, he reached out and grabbed her arm. Gu Jingyan could not avoid it and scoffed. Let go. Lu Baikan said, quick, apologize to the Lord. I treated you to some barbecue, and yet you dare hit me. Hey, why should I apologize to you? Quick, apologize. No means no. Gu Jingyan wanted to escape, but Lu Baikan's grip on her was quite tight, with no intention of loosening. With a powerful pull, Gu Jingyan fell backward in an instant. Ah, you. Lu Baikan quickly pulled her. Unexpectedly, he also fell to the ground with her. Face to face. And he had her pinned under him. Being so close, he looked at her face. That beautiful face was now right in front of his eyes, now in red and with stubbornness. This damn woman had always been a lot to deal with. It was especially so today. I've said it. Don't get physical with me. Look at you, so careless that you fell. Gu Jingyan lowered her head. She only felt his chest against her body, it hurt. Because of their position. She looked at him, and he looked back at her. For a moment, their mouths were dry. His lips moved. Suddenly, seeing her face made him feel like his body was on fire. As he looked at her lips, he suddenly kissed her. Gu Jingyan was in shock. Then, with linked lips, she closed her eyes tightly. Deep and lingering. Just a touch and the two of them seemed like they could not care about anything else. They only had their eyes and bodies on each other. It was like a breeze in spring after not having seen the river for many years. Like spring after the winter, one when the flowers are in bloom. Like untouched gears that soon started moving. Like the spring breeze meeting the rain. He hugged her frantically and kissed even more passionately, as though he was going to debone her. She, on the other hand, closed her eyes. She had no control over her hands, which had found their way to his back. Feeling those slim arms, and as he made his way up, his movements got more rapid. He only had one violent thought in his mind. He had to eat her, eat. Once their bodies fitted together. Once they had connected completely, only then would he feel satisfaction, much more than anything else. Nobody ever made him feel this satisfied and with a great sense of achievement. Someone riding her was not something she wanted to give in. Hence, in a short while, she turned over and sat on his body. Soon, she twined around his waist, wanting him relentlessly. He felt like she was going to murder him. The two young bodies were at it for an unknown time. Only after then did they fall into a deep sleep. At dawn, Gu Jingyan woke up slowly and was in for a surprise. What was this? Where was this? So painful. Her lower part felt like it got ripped. She looked up and saw the guy beside her. Lu Baikan. He looked like an infant when he slept. So obedient and cute, so good looking. But they. Soon, she came to a realization and sat up. At the same time, Lu Baikan suddenly sat up as well. He got a huge fright. He blinked and looked at Gu Jingyan, who was in front of him. They never thought that things would turn out as such. But what they should do and should not do, they have already done. She looked at him. Alright, this is my fault. Lu Baikan had no idea what had gotten into him at night. But as he looked at her, he could not help but kiss her passionately. As for her, it was the first time. Hearing remorse in his voice, Gu Jingyan felt as though she had eaten something rotten. It was unbearable. A while later, she stood up. How can this be? One slap makes no sense. This is both of our faults. Alright, since it already happened. We shall not care about who should take the blame. He looked up at her. When Gu Jingyan stood up at any time, she was always Gu Jingyan, the proud princess. When she lifted her chin, she scorned everyone. We can pretend nothing happened. Only you and I know about this. Let's take it as nothing happened. It definitely won't happen again, anyway. Am I right? Lu Baikan narrowed his eyes at her. Could they really pretend that nothing happened? She was that easygoing. Chapter 1475. They have already slept together. Gu Jingyan did not need a man who wanted to take responsibility for something when he did not even like her. She did not need a man like this. So, she immediately spoke as casually as she did. Moreover, she also did not think that in today's society, a woman should always need a man to take responsibility for such a matter. Last night. It was both of their mistakes last night, that was for sure. Lu Baikan glared at her, and he nodded his head after a while. All right then, if you say so. Both of them were still good friends after they walked out of the door. If she could do it, he could do it. The people outside seemed to be very excited about this round of a game. But when they returned to Q University, everyone had to go back onto their tracks. On the road, Lu Baiken looked out and felt that he had wronged her. However, looking at Gu Jingyan over at one side, talking and laughing with the class leader and other classmates, it seemed like nothing was wrong. He clasped his hands and looked elsewhere. They soon arrived at the location. Fu Chengxi could not wait to receive him. I'm sorry, Baiken, my stomach was not feeling so good halfway through. Did you guys have fun? Lu Baiken looked at Fu Chengxi, and he felt tight in his chest. Oh, it was all right. Unknowingly, he looked at Gu Jingyan from the corner of his eye. She was already looking elsewhere, and without a word, she left. Fu Chengxi held onto him, only caring about having a conversation with him and not bothering about Gu Jingyan. After their activity, Gu Jingyan was officially promoted as the chairperson of the student union. She started running around, and with the addition of her studies, her time got tighter. However, most would pay attention to the president of the student union of Q University. So there would only be more attention on this pretty chairperson. They even invited Gu Jingyan to ZF's General Assembly. When they went for a meal together, Gu Jingyan had her head lowered as she ate her food. Boss Shu said, let's go to the beach tomorrow. We'll drive and take you along. Gu Jingyan said, I have no time. I have to attend ZF's Environmental Assembly tomorrow. Ah, ZF, you're going? Boss Shu asked. You're just a student union chairperson, and yet you need to go over there. Little Q said, are you silly? Don't you know how powerful it is being the chairperson of Q University's student union? Being the chairperson means you're halfway into the official circles. Fu Chengxi looked up. That powerful. She looked at Gu Jingyan and thought about how Q University was the first in the country. Naturally, it differed from those other small schools. Boss Shu said, Gu Jingyan doesn't need that at all. Since her eldest brother is in the world of politics, wouldn't she be able to enter if he gave her a hand? Fu Chengxi said, is her eldest brother that capable? Boss Shu blinked his eyes. You'll see him in this year's elections. Huh. The presidential elections, silly. Fu Chengxi looked at Gu Jingyan in surprise. So it was possible that her eldest brother would be the president. As she ate, Fu Chengxi thought about how being the president meant being on the top, controlling the entire sea nation like an emperor. Then wouldn't Gu Jingyan become a real princess? Gu Jingyan raised her eyebrows. All right already, what has he got to do with me? I'm going to wash my hands. Lu Baiken had been chilling. As he saw Gu Jingyan get up, he lazily got up as well. Not long after, Gu Jingyan looked at Lu Baiken. What are you doing? Lu Baiken said, Gu Jingyan. She said, enough, Chengxi is still outside. I'm heading out first. She brushed past him. But then, Lu Baiken held onto her arm. In an instant, Lu Baiken pinned Gu Jingyan to the wall. He looked down at her. Gu Jingyan, look at me. Gu Jingyan looked at him. What do you want? Lu Baiken had been thinking about the incident that happened. It seemed impossible to pretend that it did not happen. Moreover, he felt that his body still liked her. So much that everything that happened that night made it very clear. It made him feel that there was some aftertaste. And what made him recollect the pleasant flavor was whenever he looked at Gu Jingyan. Looking at her made him feel very different. He had a rush of adrenaline that also came with a fanatical feeling. He never had this sort of passion and never felt such a deep want for a person. But this person was Gu Jingyan. Gu Jingyan, can you do it? He clasped her arm. Gu Jingyan said, let go. How are you doing it? Let me go. You. Just then, a soft and gentle voice entered. Jingyan Baiken, you guys. Fu Chengxi thought that Lu Baiken was gone for quite a while, so she came over to look. She froze when she saw the two of them. Gu Jingyan took the chance to push Lu Baiken away. She looked at Fu Chengxi. It's nothing. Fu Chengxi's eyes moved. Are you guys quarreling again? Gu Jingyan smiled. How can it be? We weren't. It also stunned Lu Baiken. He was powerless watching Gu Jingyan leave. Fu Chengxi felt that somehow, the two of them were different. But what was different? When they went out, Gu Jingyan had already left. Fu Chengxi said, why did Jingyan leave first? Boss Shu replied, she's too busy. Little Q smiled and said, oh, you didn't quarrel. You two stayed inside the same room that night. Was it? Before he could complete his sentence, Boss Shu's arm gave him a nudge. Fu Chengxi froze. At that moment, the usually slow-witted person that she was got especially sensitive. What did you say? What about a room? Boss Shu laughed loudly. Nothing. We were saying everyone was in a room and playing games. You weren't around that day. Alright, I'm done eating. I'm going to head to the toilet. The two of them made a quick escape to the toilet. Fu Chengxi already felt that something was amiss. The next day, she went to look up Gu Jingyan. However, Gu Jingyan was not around when she arrived at her dormitory. Where did Jingyan go? Fu Chengxi asked her roommate. Gu Jingyan's roommate laughed and looked at Fu Chengxi. Why are you looking for Jingyan? Nothing much, I'm just trying to find her. Haha, she's not in a good mood these days. She's gotten herself very busy. You don't have to look for her, she won't be returning so soon. Not in a good mood? Fu Chengxi had never seen that. It's impossible, I'm with her every day. How is she not in a good mood? The roommates looked at Fu Chengxi and did not like her. They felt that she gave off a city girl aura. You only care about being in love with Lu Baiken. Do you still remember Gu Jingyan? She's not in a good mood. After the game that day and she spent a night with Lu Baiken, her mood changed. We don't know what exactly Lu Baiken had done. Fu Chengxi felt like she got an electric shock. What did you say? Who spent the night? Gu Jingyan. And Lu Baiken. Chapter 1476. Why don't we be together? She did not know how to leave the place. She ran all the way out, thinking it was impossible. They said that on purpose because they were jealous of her. She trembled and called Lu Baiken. Lu Baiken picked up the call very quickly. He then noticed that Fu Chengxi did not sound like herself over the phone. Baiken, Baiken. What happened? Compared to the past, Lu Baiken sounded less patient. Fu Chengxi said, I'll look for you now. Where are you? In class. Soon, Fu Chengxi arrived at his class. The class was already dismissed. Lu Baiken was working hard since he needed to submit his paper soon. Fu Chengxi walked over with a pale face. As he looked up and saw Fu Chengxi in that state, he felt that something was amiss. What happened to you? Fu Chengxi looked at him. Tell me you and Jingyan that night. Sleeping in the same room. Did anything happen between the both of you? Lu Baiken froze. Fu Chengxi started crying and looked at him with hope. Yes or no, did anything happen? Lu Baiken held on to her. Listen to me, Chengxi. In a moment of confusion, he did not know what to say either. Fu Chengxi pushed him away. Tell me, did anything happen? Lu Baiken was pushed aside with his hands down. He then raised his head to look at the other side. He silently bit his lips and nodded his head. For a moment, Fu Chengxi thought she had seen wrong. Her eyes widened as she looked at him. What did you say? What did you say? Lu Baiken was not prepared to lie, so he turned his head back. That was just a one-off accident, Chengxi. But, looking at Fu Chengxi's pale face, he said, but it happened. You. Fu Chengxi was heartbroken. She was disgruntled and unconvinced. She held onto Lu Baiken and shouted, is it because she's the fourth young mistress of the Gu family? Lu Baiken frowned. How can it be? Then why? Is it because she's pretty? No, of course not. Oh, then is it because you like her? Fu Chengxi lost more hope as she continued. No, it's not like that. Lu Baiken wanted to continue, but Fu Chengxi could not bear it anymore. She immediately turned around and ran out. Chengxi. Lu Baiken wanted to go after her, but he was powerless. He did not know if he should go after her. Soon, Fu Chengxi disappeared without a trace again. The next day, Fu Chengxi was already gone when he went over to her home. Lu Baiken knew that it was his wrongdoing this time. It was his mistake that made her leave the place with resentment. At night, Gu Jingyan did not see Lu Baiken. She had searched for a whole round. She asked Boss Shu, where's Lu Baiken? Oh, it's all because of that wretched Fu Chengxi who only knows how to harm others. She ran away without a word or sound again. Gu Jingyan froze. Unlike the two who were cursing at Fu Chengxi, she sat there in silence. Halfway through, she stood up and said, I'm heading out for a while. Once she was out, she thought of ways to look for Fu Chengxi. Making use of the Gu family's affluence and finding the Gu family's secret agents to look for Fu Chengxi. Using this method to search may bring results. Fu Chengxi was still in B City, and she was at her relatives'. She went over and saw a shabby, small yard in a village in the city. There were filth and dirt all around. She stepped on with her sports shoes, and the side she stepped with got dirtied. Fu Chengxi was sitting at a side, helping her relative to look after some children. Wearing simple clothes, it seemed like she had lost a good amount of weight after just a few days. Chengxi, she called out, which left Fu Chengxi in shock. As she looked at Gu Jingyan, Fu Chengxi's tears started falling immediately. You who let you here? Why are you here? Fu Chengxi stood up right away. Gu Jingyan looked at her. Do you already know? Fu Chengxi froze for a bit before realizing what Gu Jingyan was talking about. Yes, I know about you and Lu Baiken, both of you got together. Gu Jingyan, how can you be so shameless? You're my friend, and he's my boyfriend. How can you do this? Gu Jingyan listened to her cursing in silence. And now, you still have the cheek to come over here. What are you here for? How can this place be suitable for a precious and mighty young mistress like you? It's so dirty here, how are you going to step down? We may be poor, but we're not for you to bully. You already have Lu Baiken, so why are you still here? Gu Jingyan raised her eyebrows. She then looked at Fu Chengxi. Chengxi, all these got nothing to do with having money or not, she said. Fu Chengxi smiled coldly. Of course, you wouldn't understand. Yes, I won't understand because I never cared about money. But I don't understand why you always have to mention wealth, too. Perhaps this led to you feeling inferior. But what I want to tell you is, Chengxi, this has nothing to do with having money. Ha, then what has it got to do with? This is because, Gu Jingyan said, I like Lu Baiken. Fu Chengxi took an entire step back. Gu Jingyan took out some funds from her pocket and placed it in front of Fu Chengxi. That's right, I did something with Lu Baiken that I shouldn't have done. I don't know how to make it up to you. If you so wish, I only have money. So, I'll give you these. But what I want to let you know is, I and Lu Baiken both have money and status. We have what others don't have. So, our being together was never about money and never about power. When we got together it was because we got confused for a moment, because we have some affirmation towards each other. This is what I have to tell you. When she finished, Fu Chengxi felt it was even harder to accept. Yes, she was right. Fu Chengxi cried again. Gu Jingyan did not prepare to say anything else, so she turned around and never returned. If this incident were to have ended then, and that both treated it as a mistake and still hung out as good friends, then everything would have remained as beautiful as in the past. However, when Gu Jingyan found Lu Baiken at night, he held onto her in a drunken state. Tell me, Jingyan, are we really bad? Gu Jingyan hugged the drunk Lu Baiken lightly. Yes, very bad. Haha, I'm bad, I'm very bad. Yes. Then let's be bad together. It'll save us the trouble of harming others again, right? Gu Jingyan looked down at him. Are you serious? Why not? Lu Baiken looked at her. Let's be together. He held her hand. Chapter 1477. A few years later, getting a divorce or not? Gu Jingyan thought that he was just making drunk talk. However, the next day, he appeared at her place. He had his hands in his pocket, leaning against a tree. The hint of melancholy on his stiff face made him appear even more charming. The passers-by couldn't help but slowly look toward him. When he saw that Gu Jingyan had come down, he said calmly, Gu Jingyan. Didn't we say that we were going to be together? Let's go. We'll go back and tell our family. Gu Jingyan's mouth was slightly agape as she looked at Lu Baiken. It took a long time before she slowly nodded. News that Gu Jingyan got together with Lu Baiken broke out into a tremendous commotion on the internet. The Gu family's fourth miss and the Lu family's Lu Baiken will have a joint marriage. Both were even planning to go overseas to study together and would bring up the discussion of marriage after they come back. People couldn't help but exclaim at this piece of news. Lu Baiken was a well-known rich guy on the internet. They also knew him as an oppressor in the capital. People monitored his every action, and everyone else was more concerned than he was about his marriage. Suddenly, all the enthusiastic netizens calculated the net worth of the two of them together, and what kind of storm the Gu family and Lu family would bring about when they come together. And when this news broke out, the entire school found out about Gu Jingyan's true identity. She was the Gu family's fourth miss. And they've only just found out about it when she had been in Q University for so many years already. However, Gu Jingyan no longer cared about this. She went back to Q University for the last time, packed up her stuff, and prepared to go overseas. They had liaised with Stanford University, and she could attend school immediately after she arrived. It wasn't Stanford University's enrollment period, but after seeing Gu Jingyan's information, they immediately enrolled her into the school as an exception. As for Lu Baiken, he also chose Stanford. Both planned to attend university there together for 4 years, while they left other matters for a different time. After she entered the hostel, Everyone looked at her and exclaimed, Gu Jingyan, you're the Gu family's fourth miss. Gu Jingyan packed her stuff. What about it? So what if I'm the Gu family's fourth miss? Speechless, she said, look at how you guys are staring at me as if I'm a monster. Does the Gu family's fourth miss have an additional eye or leg? All her roommates crowded around her. Oh my god, I've been living with the Gu family's fourth miss for so long but didn't know about it at all. How could you be saying that after all this? Gu Jingyan continued to pack her stuff. I'm not called the Gu family's fourth miss. I'm just Gu Jingyan. I can't possibly introduce myself as, I'm the Gu family's fourth miss. My name is Gu Jingyan. Ha ha ha. Everyone looked at Gu Jingyan, feeling reluctant to part with her, but also feeling very emotional. They hadn't expected that the Gu family's fourth miss kept such a low profile. She had put in so much effort and was such a likable person. All of us feel thrilled that you've gotten together with Lu Baiken. Both of you are a match made in heaven. Match made in heaven. She didn't feel much about it. Their relationship was still like how it had been in the past, jesting around with each other like good buddies. As for love, there wasn't any feeling involved in their relationship. Both soon went overseas. They would only prepare for their wedding after they returned to the country. But they met a hurdle before the marriage, and it was all because of Fu Chengxi. If it weren't for her, Lu Baiken and Gu Jingyan might have coexisted in peace amidst squabbles. What was worse? A few years later, Fu Chengxi was still present, and even though she wasn't always around, she would occasionally appear from time to time. In the beginning, Gu Jingyan assumed that Fu Chengxi was just a friend. However, things turned out differently. Gu Jingyan threw Lu Baiken off and drove a sports car by herself, speeding off. Although most female drivers are looked down on, no one would dare to look down on a female driver who was driving a sports car that was worth over $10 million. Gu Jingyan walked into the small house. Lu Baiken gave that house to Fu Chengxi. It wasn't as if she didn't know this. In the past, she kept an eye closed to things, letting things slide by. It was because she knew that although Lu Baiken took care of Fu Chengxi's daily needs, he had never touched her. Otherwise, given her character, she'd have blown up long ago. However, Lu Baiken had thoroughly made her furious in the car earlier on that day. She pushed open the door to the house. The Fu family had no idea who she was. Who are you? Who allowed you to come in just like that? You. Where's Fu Chengxi? She took off her sunglasses and went straight to the point. When Fu Chengxi's mother saw her strong disposition, she immediately shriveled up. You. Tell Fu Chengxi that an old friend came and wanted to see her. At that moment, Fu Chengxi had already come out after hearing such a commotion. Her heart sank when she saw Gu Jingyan. Her face turned pale. Gu Jingyan walked up to her. Her powerful disposition made one shrink uncontrollably. Gu Jingyan said, Fu Chengxi, I know that my husband had shown you some care in the past. On the account that you were old friends, he gave you money to spend, bought you a house, and found you a job. I said nothing to these. But he is my husband, after all. It's fine if I get a divorce. You could do whatever you want. But then, I haven't gotten a divorce yet. Even if you're anxious, you still have to wait. Or, you can persuade him to quickly sign the divorce papers so that the two of you can be together. Don't drag on and refuse to sign, and yet you still appear before me to annoy me every day. Fu Chengxi's face instantly turned even grimmer. Jingyan, I. Gu Jingyan was no longer the amiable student she was in the past. Having been in the business world and having quarrels with Lu Baiken for many years, she now understood Lu Baiken from the inside out. She also understood people like Fu Chengxi very well. She interrupted Fu Chengxi and said directly, what do you want to say? Do you want to say that this has nothing to do with you? You don't wish to seduce my husband and don't wish to break up my family. Fu Chengxi's countenance turned even paler. Gu Jingyan didn't stand on ceremony and said, fine, if you don't wish to destroy my family, then things would be easy. Just leave immediately and get married immediately. Find a guy and get married to him. Don't look for all sorts of excuses to stay. Disappear without a trace. That'll work. Otherwise. She slowly got closer. Her despising gaze made Fu Chengxi feel increasingly diffident. Gu Jingyan was so terrifying, so domineering, leaving no room for rebuttal. Gu Jingyan stared at her face. Otherwise, all the reasons you give would just be excuses. Don't tell me things like you don't wish to destroy another person's family. It isn't of much concern to me whether this has anything to do with you. I'm also not concerned about whether you're doing this on purpose. It's because I can only see one thing, that is you're here and destroying my family. Gu Jingyan snorted and said, so there aren't any excuses. You're a third party, understand? Fu Chengxi fell to the ground. Gu Jingyan no longer said anything. She turned and looked at Fu Chengxi's parents. Keep an eye on your child. Either let her do a good job as a third party and get Lu Baikan to agree to a divorce, or stay further away from our family. You. Chapter 1478. Why should I listen to you? Gu Jingyan left. Fu Chengxi's parents were furious. They looked at Fu Chengxi, and Fu Chengxi's father said, look at you. You should have said something. Fu Chengxi lowered her head, not saying a word. Her mother also said, humph, she only dares to speak to you like this because her family is rich. Why should you be afraid of her? Lu Baikan treats you well. What can she do to you? That's right, that's right. Put in more effort with Lu Baikan, and you might kick her status as Mrs. Lu. If it doesn't work, then have a child with Lu Baikan. Mom, what are you saying? Fu Chengxi stomped her foot and went back to her room. Lu Baikan gave her this place. However, Lu Baikan only provided her with food so she won't die of starvation. He never said that he would give her any special feelings. She couldn't even touch him for no reason. At the moment, things were like what Gu Jingyan had said. Lu Baikan was unwilling to file a divorce against Gu Jingyan. Lu Baikan made it sound that he did not want to accept things and that he didn't want to let Gu Jingyan have her way. But was that true? Over the years, she kept on recalling what Gu Jingyan had said back then. Both Lu Baikan and she came from comparable family backgrounds and were both very rich. They cared little for money or status. Therefore, the reason they could be together was that they had feelings for each other. Then, was it true that Lu Baikan had feelings for Gu Jingyan? Gu Jingyan didn't go home. There were many places she could stay at, and she couldn't be bothered to see Lu Baikan. She stayed somewhere else. When Lu Baikan went home and didn't see Gu Jingyan, he was enraged. This woman had recently been. Putting aside the fact that she ran away for half a year, she also kept on disappearing after she came back. He went out and saw his family's bodyguards. Where's madam? He asked furiously. That we don't know. It made Lu Baikan flare up once again. What do you mean you don't know? What do you guys do that you do not know her whereabouts? Young Master Lu, it's not as if you don't know about the bodyguards from madam's family. If madam doesn't wish for others to find her, it'd be very difficult to locate her. That was right, that was right. It always felt that he could control the entire world, but Gu Jingyan. No matter how much he wanted to control her, he couldn't. Great, great, that's just great. Alright, all of you can scram. You can't even win against a few lousy bodyguards from the Gu family. You're really bringing me shame. After saying that, he went back and slammed the door hard. However, he was feeling bad about this. Who would feel good about this? His wife kept on saying that she wanted to get a divorce. It'd be strange if he would feel good about it. At this moment, Fu Chengxi called. He looked and then felt annoyed for some reason. However, he still picked up the call. Is something the matter? Yes, Jingyan came over today. Lu Baikan only casually asked, but upon hearing that Gu Jingyan went to see Fu Chengxi, he immediately jumped up. A short moment later, he entered the Western dining restaurant of a hotel. This restaurant didn't sell Western food at that time around, but they would provide some afternoon tea menu. Fu Chengxi ordered some red wine to go with the tea. When she saw Lu Baikan, she lowered her head and said, come and try this red wine. I heard that you like Lafite and specially ordered it. How could Lu Baikan possibly care about red wine at this moment? Why did Gu Jingyan go there in the afternoon? Did she look for you? What did she say? Where the hell has she gone to? Fu Chengxi was stunned for a moment, finding it hard to keep up her smile. She said, she didn't say much, but that the two of you are going through a divorce. Lu Baikan was enraged. This woman. Who was going through a divorce with her? They haven't gotten a divorce yet. He hadn't agreed to it yet, but she was already announcing it to others. Was this how she said it? Fu Chengxi said, Baikan, why are the two of you getting a divorce for no reason? Can you not get a divorce? If there's any problem, just talk things through. He pulled at his arm, appearing to be persuading him carefully. Lu Baikan became agitated again. Don't listen to her. We aren't getting a divorce. We aren't divorced at all. Hey, she wants a divorce. No way, it's her wishful thinking, he mumbled angrily. Fu Chengxi felt very bitter, and it was as if there was something stuck in her throat. Did he not want to get a divorce? She smiled. That's right, your child is already so old. It's not because of the child. I just don't want a divorce. Why do I have to listen to her? I'm not getting a divorce. Humph. Fu Chengxi felt increasingly upset, and she glanced at the red wine. Alright, don't be angry. Baiken, when I heard about it, I thought that it was true. How can she say something like that? It's so hurtful for your relationship, and it frightened me as well. Have a drink, don't be too angry. Lu Baiken took a big gulp of the wine. He was furious and drank quite a lot of wine at one go. Seeing that he had drunk too much, Fu Chengxi sent him back. When they reached the door, she called Gu Jingyan. Jingyan. Gu Jingyan let out a cold snort. What more do you have to say? Fu Chengxi said, it's not much, but Lu Baiken is with me. He's drunk. Why don't you come and fetch him? There was a long silence on the other end of the call. A short moment later, she said, since he is drunk and he's with you, then you should be the one responsible for the aftermath. I'm not his nanny. Why do I have to fetch him whenever he gets drunk? You can take care of the drunkard. After saying that, she hung up the call. Fu Chengxi paused for a moment before she looked at Lu Baiken. She had done this on purpose. She didn't want to see Gu Jingyan and Lu Baiken well together. Back then, Lu Baiken had been her boyfriend. It was Gu Jingyan that bitch who snatched him away. Gu Jingyan put down the phone, but her secretary, who was next to her, was still hesitant. President Gu, was it a call from that bitch? As she had helped Gu Jingyan to handle some matters, she knew some things about the two of them. Gu Jingyan nodded silently. The secretary said, Madam, don't believe this bitch. She must be doing this on purpose. Gu Jingyan took in a deep breath. That's right, she's doing this on purpose. But remember, who is it that gave her this chance? The secretary was stunned. Gu Jingyan said, if Lu Baiken didn't meet her, then she wouldn't show off to me. The secretary had nothing to say to this. What President Gu said was right. Gu Jingyan continued to lower her head to write something. A short moment later, the pen broke. The next day, when Lu Baiken woke up, he realized that he was back at home. And next to him was Fu Chengxi. He was stunned. He glanced down to check himself and saw that his clothes were intact, and Fu Chengxi was also wearing the clothes she wore yesterday. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Thankfully, nothing happened. He looked at Fu Chengxi, why are you here? Fu Chengxi said, Baiken, you were drunk, so I could only stay to take care of you. Don't worry, nothing happened. You fell asleep the moment you came back. Of course, how could anything have happened? He got up, rubbed his hair, and headed out. However, he had just reached the door when he saw Gu Jingyan carrying her handbag and entering. Chapter 1479 A divorce it shall be, no crap. Lu Baiken froze right away. On one side, Fu Chengxi also froze. Gu Jingyan smiled coldly. I'm sorry to disturb you guys. I'm just back to get something. Lu Baiken walked over immediately. Jingyan, what are you doing? Gu Jingyan pushed Lu Baiken away. Let me go. You don't tell me you've mistaken. I was only drunk. Yeah, drunk. What should have happened has already happened, right? It's so familiar. Oh, it happened to us back then, too. Gu Jingyan smiled faintly. Over the other side, Fu Chengxi quickly said, don't misunderstand, Jingyan. We did nothing, really. Gu Jingyan looked at Fu Chengxi. Without a word, she walked into her room. This room was also Lu Baiken's. As husband and wife, it was natural for them to share a room. She looked back and smiled sweetly. How was it, Chengxi? My room's not bad, Fu Chengxi turned red in the face. Lu Baiken went mad. Gu Jingyan, what are you doing? I've said it. I have no reason to lie to you. Don't you know me? I can't get hard when I'm drunk. How can I do anything? Yes, didn't she know him? They had been together for so many years, and they probably know more about one another than about themselves. This statement was not something that Fu Chengxi wanted to hear. Gu Jingyan turned her head. Chengxi, can you leave first? I won't. Jingyan, listen to me. Gu Jingyan interrupted her, this is still my place. Can you wait to stand here again and talk to Lu Baiken? Fu Chengxi was stunned. Gu Jingyan continued, at least wait for us to sign the divorce papers. Just wait before you could enter the room as a dignified person. Is that all right? Aye. Fu Chengxi ran out, red in the face. Lu Baiken had no intentions of going after her. He only looked at Gu Jingyan. Believe me, Gu Jingyan immediately said, sign it. You. Gu Jingyan looked at him. Lu Baikan, why not look at the account of us being husband and wife and knowing each other for so many years? Just think, can you bear to do it? Can you bear to see me get hurt because of you? Can't you let me go? I want a divorce. I only want a divorce. Please sign it, alright. He was shocked. Looking at Gu Jingyan's expression, Lu Baikan felt like his heart got stabbed. It was so painful. Gu Jingyan. Lu Baikan closed his eyes and suddenly felt that he owed her. If he owed her, he should repay her. Alright, if I sign it and it can make you happy and never sad again, I'll sign it. He took the pen. This time, without giving himself the chance for hesitation and consideration, he immediately signed his name. Seeing his name made Gu Jingyan feel some weight off her shoulders. She looked at him with a smile. Her curved lips were glamorous as could be. Thanks. She took the agreement and walked out without looking back. Lu Baikan felt like he had lost all his energy and sat on the floor. A splitting headache. Gu Jingyan went out. The secretary watched her holding on to the carefully crafted agreement and could not help but feel a heavy heart. President Gu, you should know. Gu Jingyan nodded. Yes, really, nothing happened. I know, but if I don't take this chance to get him to sign, then when would I ever get the chance again? The secretary looked at her and thought about how President Gu was so smart, and yet President Lu did not love her. On the contrary, he loved a woman who had nothing to her name. What did he have for brains in his head? The secretary viciously said, President Gu, you'll be very popular after the divorce. The number of men waiting to go after you can form a queue to the city god temple. Gu Jingyan smiled and tapped onto her head. Don't tease me, let's go. To where? Since I'm already divorced, it's to have fun, of course. Gu Jingyan was very relaxed. But on the other hand, Lu Baikan. In the bar at night. Lu Baikan drank until his head was in a whirl. On one side, Boss Shu asked, Are you for real? You're divorced. Are you lying to me? You're seriously divorced? Yes. Okay, Lu Baikan, I really can't help you this time. I'm on Jingyan's side. Boss Shu stood up right away. He chided Lu Baikan, what's so bad about her that you dislike that much? Look at how you've treated her over these years. Lu Baikan looked up. I did nothing. I didn't even touch any of Fu Chengxi's fingers. It's not about this time. Boss Shu said, I'm talking about the past. You helped Chengxi, secretly gave her money to use, bought her a house, and even helped her to find a job. All these, are more despicable than getting drunk this time. Do you know how you're pulling Jingyan apart by treating her like this? And she can't even say anything to you. Do you know what the outsiders are saying? They say that you're keeping a lover. Lu Baikan lowered his head. I only felt that I couldn't let Chengxi starve to death in front of me. Then as a consequence, you let outsiders mock Jingyan, saying how she's going to become an abandoned wife of a wealthy family. You made her feel heartbroken, and you didn't notice at all. You only care about Fu Chengxi, so what about Jingyan? Who is going to take care of her? Do you take her for a guy just because she doesn't mention it? That she has more to her name, and she's strong and independent. She's not your good friend, she's your wife. She's not your good friend, she's your wife. This one sentence shattered Lu Baikan's heart. Lu Baikan got up and said to Boss Shu, get lost. You're on her side. I want to see her as a wife, but the only thing she has in mind is a divorce. She only thinks about fighting with me. Jerk, she's letting you have it easy with a divorce, Boss Shu replied and threw a punch over. Hey, don't get physical, little Q quickly stood up. However, Lu Baikan had already been hit. Slouched on the ground, his mouth started bleeding. Lu Baikan gritted his teeth and stayed on the floor for a while before standing up. Hey, Baikan, don't go, don't be angry. We've been friends for so many years. Little Q was exasperated. He was thinking of what else to say when Lu Baikan said, I'm going to look for Gu Jingyan. Little Q said, Boss Shu held Little Q back. Let him go. Jingyan wouldn't bother about him. It's Jingyan we're talking about. She has so many suitors and none weaker than Lu Baikan. He thinks he's a rare gem. He said this on purpose for Lu Baikan to hear, but Lu Baikan did not bother about him and immediately ran out. Where was Gu Jingyan? Gu Jingyan was still at the company. However, she had already applied for leave and was prepared to leave the place for some fun. Gu Jingyan and Lu Baikan were workaholics. No matter where they were, they would always prioritize work. They had never really taken a rest in all these years. At that moment, Gu Jingyan felt tired and immediately packed her things to leave. On the outside. President Gu, President Gu, President Lu is here. He's on his way over. I'm going mad watching. Let me know how you want to handle this. Chapter 1480 Gu Jingyan, I'm regretting. Just as the voice echoed around, Lu Baikan had already arrived. Gu Jingyan. Gu Jingyan was still packing and was indifferent to him, as though she did not see him. Oh, President Lu, you can't come in. Get lost, all of you. Lu Baikan said immediately. Everyone jumped. Looking at how Lu Baikan was, she did not know what to say. Gu Jingyan nonchalantly turned her head. Alright, you guys head out first. Everyone looked at Gu Jingyan with sympathy and quickly left. Was Lu Baikan here to fight with President Gu again? President Lu looked very upset. Gu Jingyan said, what are you doing here? Are you sending me off? There's not a need to. I can leave on my own. Lu Baikan looked at Gu Jingyan's expressionless face. Sometimes, he felt like tearing away this mask of hers, just to see what she was thinking. But this woman wanted to be strong, and he had no way with her. He walked over, step by step. Gu Jingyan did not even look at him. Gu Jingyan, what exactly are you thinking of doing? He asked in a weak voice. It was completely different from the flamboyant man in the past. Gu Jingyan turned slightly and looked at him, a little surprised. However, she was not amazed. What do I want? She replied indifferently, I only want to go on holiday. I haven't had a break all these years, bowing down to the company. Now I want to give myself a break, can't I do that? You can't. Lu Baikan got closer to her immediately. I'm in regret, I won't sign for the divorce. Haha. Gu Jingyan wondered how this man could be so fickle. How did he sympathize with her earlier on, and turned around in regret after? Did he feel that he had not taken revenge and pestered her enough? It's useless. You've already signed it. It's legally binding. Do you want to go back on your word? There's no way, Gu Jingyan said. No, not. I don't agree. This time, Lu Baikan panicked. In a moment, he stood in front of Gu Jingyan. Based on what? You coerced me into signing it. It doesn't count. Haha, it's all in black and white, and you say it doesn't count. Step aside, ex-husband, she boldly said. Ex-husband now. Why did hearing this term feel like a sharp pierce to the ears? You take it back. What ex-husband? I haven't agreed, Lu Baikan said. Is it important if you agree or not? You have nothing to do with me now, so your opinion doesn't matter anymore. Move aside, don't block my path. No, I won't accept being the ex-husband. Lu Baikan continued standing in her way. Suit yourself. Gu Jingyan pushed Lu Baikan aside. She pulled her luggage and walked out. Lu Baikan quickly went after her. Gu Jingyan, let's have a good talk. I've nothing to say to you. Impossible, I'm sure you do. Please don't go. Step aside, why are you being so thick-skinned? Don't go, and I won't be thick-skinned. No way, I've already booked my flight. Then I'll insist on hanging on to you. Are you going to now? I'm going too. Haha, I've booked the Gu family's private plane. Do you want to come along? Not a chance. Damned Gu family. Outside. Everyone was stunned. It was definite that the two of them always bickered. But, with one running in front, and the other chasing behind, and looking at the state that Lu Baikan was in, it was like what President Gu had said. He was being thick-skinned. It was a little weird. Gu Jingyan, just you wait. Leave, when you leave. I can still find you. Gu Jingyan left in a huff. The people behind looked at how lonely Lu Baikan stood there. Suddenly, as they looked at him in a sympathetic light, he appeared different. No matter how they looked, he looked like President Gu dumped him. Moreover, he was flustered and unable to pick his spirits up. Lu Baikan stood there and thought. What should he do now? The Gu family's private plane. He presumed he could not get on. As long as Gu Jingyan disagreed, there was no way he could follow. But now, he could only find out where she was headed to. Lu Baikan anxiously went to ask around. Just by asking, he already knew that she was heading to the Maldives. Oh my, that place. That was where they had their honeymoon. Haha, she still insisted that she had no feelings for him. If that was so, why was she going to the Maldives? He immediately got his flight booked and intended to head over quickly. He saw that Fu Chengxi was calling him while he was on his way. Frowning, he felt very annoyed for no reason. In the past, he had been very patient with Fu Chengxi because he always felt that he owed her. That year, he had betrayed her first, so she left in disappointment. However, He could no longer find an ounce of patience. Seeing Gu Jingze's name only made him feel annoyed. He thought it was because he was currently anxious about Gu Jingze that he was being like this. However, he had no desire to entertain Gu Jingze, and so he immediately hung up on her. One direct flight to the Maldives. Liu Baikan looked around and felt that the scenes during the honeymoon played out once again. He had mentioned Gu Jingze's matter during their wedding, and he ended up bickering with Gu Jingze to the end of their honeymoon. His heart stopped for a while. He saw a pair of husband and wife talking at one side. The female gently said, "It's beautiful here." The man said, "It costs a lot, too." The female said, "Irritating. A honeymoon is once in a lifetime. Of course, it needs to be sweet." Yes, to a female, a honeymoon and wedding are all very important. But Gu Jingze never had it good, not even once. Did she come here because she regretted it? He felt even worse. He only wanted to see Gu Jingze sooner, much sooner. Meanwhile, in the best seaside villa in the Maldives, Gu Jingze was sitting by the sea with her feet in the water and drinking some red wine. Beside her was a great service staff, who knew that she was a rich guest who had flown in on a private plane. So he was consciously courteous. "Madam, your wine." "Please don't call me madam." She looked up. "I've just gotten divorced." "Ah, is that so, miss? You're so young and beautiful, which man doesn't know how to treasure you?" Gu Jingze smiled and did not say a word. Just then, a commotion was heard from outside. "Hey, sir, you can't go in. This site is already occupied. Don't stand in my way. My wife's inside." Gu Jingze frowned. This man did not know when to stop. Liu Baikan did not care and immediately barged his way in. He immediately saw Gu Jingze, who was seated there comfortably. He took in a breath and let go. "Hey, Gu Jingze, you." Looking at how Gu Jingze seemed to be enjoying herself. Could Gu Jingze look a little sadder now that she was a divorcee? "You're not that hard to find." Gu Jingze looked at him. "Hey, this is my private area. Barging in like this, aren't you afraid I'll call the cops?" "Hey, you're going to call the cops?" He wanted to go in as he spoke, but he saw Gu Jingze take out her mobile phone with no expression on her face.